Does Atmanirbhar Bharat have the capability to help reach the goal of a 5 trillion economy, $5 trillion economy? As we enter a new phase with the renewed agenda, more focused towards D20 goals, can we pull a rabbit and stay afloat in an environment of looming recession? With blurring borders and the world entering a flux, do we have the resilient strain to fight back? We begin today's discussion on Indian economics with the larger question: is India ready? I now would like to welcome on stage Shri Gopal Krishna Agarwal ji, National Spokesperson for BJP on Economics. He's a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountant of India. He's an economic thinker, writes extensively for newspaper, financial journals, and is a trustee and a treasurer of India Policy Foundation for a discussion on transforming the Indian economy, Atmanirbhar India's ascent towards the Amrit Kal. Namaskar, Gopalji. I'd like to begin with the theme of our discussion. Can we get your thoughts on Atmanirbhar India's ascent towards Amrit Kal? And I'd like you to also talk about in a situation where India's recovery is in a K-shape. So could you please elaborate?
Thank you, Misha ji. First of all, I would like to thank Maitri Bodh Parivar and Dadashi ji to give me this opportunity to interact with all of you, and ABP channel also, and my co-panelists Makran ji, Avinash ji, and other dignitaries present here. It's a big pleasure for me. Thank you very much. It's important because those who understand and have some knowledge of Sanskrit, it is said that talk in sutras. It should be very, it is no need required that you go in detail for people who can't understand, and it is not required for, detail is not required for those who can understand, or both. It is, Sanskrit has always been talking in sutras. And what your topic today is, transforming Bharat. भारत के बारे में मैं एक ही चीज कहना चाहता हूं कि संस्कृत में भारत का मतलब है भा दीप्तौरतः, that you continuously engage in knowledge, pursuit of knowledge is what Bharat is. And as Prime Minister has also been saying, that the next revolution is for knowledge economy. So we are going for a knowledge economy phase after this 25, in this Amrit Kal, 75 years of our independence. And Prime Minister has said that this 25 years is an Amrit Kal. And we aspire to be power in 2047 when we complete 100 years. Right. So India is best suited because of its content, knowledge, and what is our knowledge base. In that context, I would like to say is that the important is at the global level, the importance of economics. You cannot become a global superpower without being an economic superpower. That is one important thing. India controlled about 26% of global trade at a point of time. That time our art, culture, language, theater, architecture, everything was prosperous. Even medicine, Ayurveda, all these were, we had a big contribution to the global level because we respected and controlled global economy. So we have to become an economic superpower to be global power in 2047. That's very important. And once we are an economic power, we have sufficient economic strength. Globally, people will listen. Right. And that has been the initiative in this Amrit Kal. Second thing is, post-independence, there was some issues that I will just underline, was failed socialism. In 1947, we started with an experiment of socialism. And by 1991, we came to a situation where we had to even, there was a complete default, sovereign default. We were on the crux of sovereign default. So that was a failed socialism that led to us a wrong concept. We did not respect entrepreneurship, businessmen, industrialists, etc. Those are wealth creators. So that is very important. We have to give that important situation. And after that also, in some certain period, what I call is crony socialism, where in the name of social welfare, the government indulges in long schemes where there is corruption and leakages into the system, and therefore the benefit of the economic growth and prosperity does not percolate to the lowest level and goes to a certain segment, and we have faced that problem, that concentration of wealth took place, what you are calling about the K-shaped recovery. So in this context, we should see we have to go for an economic growth. Size of the cake does matter. You cannot go alone on a distributive model. Countries cannot progress only if you go on to distributive model. You have to respect wealth creation, industrialist business, etc. And that is the focus. At this point of time in the Amrit Kal, in the 75th year of our independence, globally we are at a very good position to lead the world. USA is facing high inflation. After 40 years, they have not faced such a high inflation. European economy is also in certain trouble because of energy crisis. Their inflation is there, energy problem is there, gas problem is there. They are seeing certain recession, inflation. Even China, the third biggest growth propeller in the world, is facing due to their policy of post-COVID reforms. So three big economies globally, US, European, and China, are having certain problems, and people are thinking of diverting their manufacturing, etc., to India. There is good opportunity for India. What we have to see is a collective will of the people to be a strong economic nation. And in that context, the Prime Minister and we are working on that. The one, two or three point areas where we can be a global, we can show a global presence is cultural economy. If you look the initiative of, because cultural economy is one thing which can propel the growth in the country, and I think that's very important. Whether you see whether a building of the Kashi corridor, Ujjain corridor, Ayodhya, or even if you look the how the Kumbh Mela was organized in the Uttar Pradesh, 25 crore people visited Kumbh in the year when it was last time it was organized. This time the expectation is 40 crore people, and you talked about Khajuraho, the temples, the architecture. So India has one area where it can propel the domestic economy. Global opportunities are there, and through cultural economy, art, culture, music, dance, etc., these can propel India's economy and catalyze our economy to the global level. So our focus is on this time is to build on the cultural economy in the country. That's very important. Certain other, it will help tourism also. Tourism itself is a byproduct of cultural economy. So that is can also propel the growth. IT, hardware, all these areas are there. Pharmaceutical sector, vaccination is 80% of the global vaccination capacity is with India. And even this pharmaceutical, IT, automobile sector, all these areas are very important, and we are working on through PLI production linked incentive schemes in 13 sectors so that they can propel India's growth and we can be global player. One thing, and the Prime Minister has also said that we should focus on areas where we can have strong capacity, we can be global leaders. So I think these areas have been identified. Government is working on this. We need collective will, people who are together want to grow and have their aspirations which can be fulfilled. And in that also, there are certain other areas where the government is working. Important is that challenges are there always in the economy. There are always challenges. Even advanced countries face certain challenges. Sure. So if challenges are there in the domestic economy, that doesn't mean that we cannot progress. We have to take those challenges, work for their solutions, and with those challenges, we have to move ahead. We have challenges of employment, they were always there. We had challenges of corruption, we are tackling those things. So I think these are the challenges which the government is working on. We have to work on that, and there are focused areas where we are going to work ahead. I- And uh, our stronger position in comparison to Western countries or advanced countries, we have at present good position. We are one of the fastest outlier in the economic growth. In spite of global recession and inflation, India is one of the fastest growing economy at present. India is on the fifth largest economy, and very soon it will surpass Germany, which has $3.7 trillion economy, and even Japan, it is $4.2 trillion economy. We will be third uh, largest economy by the decade, and that is what is expected. We have good institutions, democracy, and transparent judiciary, good and efficient media. So all these are a good they create institutional ecosystem where India can progress. We need a collective will to do this. The Prime Minister has said that we can do it. What is required is that we work on these certain areas which the people have to work on: health, education, skilling. These are the areas where if we work together, we can collectively solve the problems.
Sure, if we can work together, we can surely solve it. The other thing I would want you to share our vision, your vision on it, is global impact of India now that we are presiding over G20 in 2023. So what's your vision on that?
This G20 is a very strong initiative, very good initiative and opportunity. I say it's a God-sent opportunity this time, because there are 43 countries which are associated, which our country expect that next year when the G20 summit is there in New Delhi, heads of 43 countries will participate. We are initiating a digital economy, digital transformation is where India has pioneered. If you look into our initiatives, whether it is a global settlement system or making Indian rupee a global currency, Prime Minister has announced we are trying to make Indian rupee a global currency. We are trying to develop our own settlement system by which advanced countries control economies. They control the global banking settlement system, and through that they provide sanctions. India is, through fintech and other, RBI is taking initiative to set up their own SWIFT software so that we are not dependent upon global settlement system. So digital transformation, even the green energy, also we are the pioneer in the initiative, whether it is green hydrogen initiative, solar power initiative, carbon emission. So India is setting agenda for environmental issues, digital transformation. Our API settlement, mobile payment systems are a global examples. Even post-COVID, CoWIN was a software initiative where fintech have been developing these softwares, mobile app and other app, which are being appreciated globally. So G20 is a good opportunity. Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam, as you have said, is an important our cultural initiative landmark. One nation, one country, one sun, one earth. This is the initiative. I think and the Prime Minister is saying that G20 had an initiative from the Western developed countries agenda. It had always been set through the agenda of the Western countries. Now South Asian countries' aspiration, emerging economies' aspiration, developing economies' aspirations will be brought to the forefront of G20, and many of the problems that we face about WTO or GATT and other international agencies through which they were using themselves as a barrier to international trade can be lifted. And G20 is controlling about 75% of the global trade. 85% of the 4.2 billion population is there. So I think it's a good platform. India will take it's good initiative in Udaipur. We have seen how cultural footprints of India were brought to the G20 delegates. So Prime Minister has also said that we should take this opportunity to bring to the world our achievements in the past, what is there in the future, what India can contribute. So I think G20 initiative will also be a good platform for us in this year. One thing I would like to tell you about cave form recovery that you said, that the recovery post-COVID was diversity and concentration of wealth. The government has set up through direct benefit transfer, etc., and use of technology so that the benefits of economic development percolates to the lower strata of the population without corruption and leakages. So the upper class will be supported to the economic growth, infrastructure, Gati Shakti, IBC, many initiatives are there for global recovery, and at the same time, lower strata which is left out of the growth will be supported through direct benefit transfer without corruption and leakages.
All right, coming back to G20, we all as Indians would be looking forward to the summit and see how India, shapes up and how India contributes. Thank you so much, Gopalji, for my answers, my questions. Now, with your kind permission, I'd like to open the house for questions. Can we have audience questions, please?
Yeah, welcome.
Yes, please.
Namaste, Gopal Krishna ji. So I have this question for you. You know, nowadays, currently, we see these largest of companies globally laying off thousands of their employees. And we're seeing the repercussions over here as well in India, where, you have these companies laying off people in large numbers. So how do you see India tackling this issue and the impact that it's going to have in our markets?
इसका एक कारण ये था, मुझे लगता है कि टेक्नोलॉजी सेक्टर में ग्लोबली ले ऑफ हो रहा है. दैट वाज बिकॉज एट द टाइम ऑफ कोविड बहुत सारे जैसे फेसबुक, ट्विटर, ऐसे जो कंपनीज थे, वो जो कंपनीज थे, दे हैड एक्सपेक्टिंग दैट टाइम ऑफ यूज, दे हैड ओवर एम्प्लॉयड देमसेल्फ. वहीं पे सारा डिसरप्शंस हो रहा है. बट अदरवाइज आई थिंक कि अदर सेक्टर्स देयर आर स्टिल areas which are developing, and ultimately employment generation comes through manufacturing sector. If the economy grows, there is no other way other than growth in the economy through which employment generation can come, and employment generation can come through manufacturing sector. So our government's focus is on manufacturing sector. Cooperative sector is one area where we are thinking that through cooperative sector the rural economy will grow. It's one form of organization where participative part of economic democracy takes place. So cooperative sector, farmer producer organizations, so that rural economy is propelled and employment generates at that point of level through cottage industries, one district, one product, all, and in rural economy growth takes place. So employment generation and self-entrepreneurship can come through manufacturing sector, that through micro, small, MSME, cottage industries, that will generate economy. Otherwise, purely job-oriented approach will not help. But I don't think technological disruption that happened, just some of the examples that you are saying, global companies have relinquished some of the jobs, that will continue. Economies are going to grow. The shift in the economic growth, as is being expected, that from the developed countries, western side to the eastern side, growth will come. Because we have domestic demand in the country, and there is a huge population. The government is also spending huge amount to create infrastructure, both at the level of ease of doing business and ease of living. Both will come through infrastructure development. It will create an enabling environment. We are doing big reforms in the power sector. Power is one constraint which industries face. Then logistic cost is one area where cost of our manufacturing is very high in comparison to global economy. We are targeting to reduce logistic cost, transportation of raw material and finished product, almost by 30-40%, and make our manufacturing sector globally competitive. So we have brought a new logistic policy. 235 projects have been identified under Gati Shakti, which were held up because of various reasons. The government is planning that infrastructure push will come in the 235 new projects under Gati Shakti. Logistic cost will be reduced, power sector reforms will be there through DISCOM distribution network of power companies, and green hydrogen energy initiative. You will see in this budget lot of initiative on green hydrogen, solar energy, ethanol mixing through petroleum product, because we depend a lot of our foreign exchange is lost through import of crude oil, etc. So that is a huge outflow of our important currency. That we have a good solar energy, so we are working on renewable energy, and its impact will come. Last, I would also like to mention is that the focus of the current dispensation leadership is that our national interest should be supreme. We cannot build a strong nation, transform Bharat, unless we take decisions in keeping in mind the national interest. You see, there was huge pressure globally not to import oil from Ukraine or Russia, but we did not bow down to that problem. And that was the national interest is the priority of our government. Second example I would like to underline is about the vaccine policy. If post-COVID, if we had not followed the policy of vaccination, producing domestic vaccine, and we would have bogged down by IPR, this property rights, etc. We would have, the vaccine would have costed 3,000, 4,000 per vaccine. We went for a policy where we said that patent should be waived off under the vaccine policy, and we are getting at 230 rupees, 250 rupees a vaccine. We have been able to successfully vaccinate 250 crore of our population. No other country has done such a thing. So policy in the national interest at the WTO level, India and Australia were the first country in 2018 which stood that in spite of 190 countries opposing it, we said that there cannot be any patent on the vaccine policy. And now almost all countries have accepted India's leadership in vaccine. This was the right policy. Post-COVID recovery, Atmanirbhar Bharat, packages, etc. You'll see our central bank, which is responsible for monetary policy, went for a post-COVID policy of creating liquidity, but it created into specific areas. We did not go into the system of some economists were suggesting that go for helicopter money, transfer money, cash, print notes and transfer to the people. It has created problem in the global economy. The recession, inflation is because huge liquidity has come into the system. We followed a calibrated approach, go for sector-specific fiscal stimulus, and for the lower strata, food for 80 crore people, free food for almost 90 crore people, which has been appreciated by the World Bank and IMF. So that approach of India-centric policy, taking care of domestic needs, aspirations, etc., and not bow down to the global pressures, gives the kind of image and leadership that India, I think, rightly deserves. And it has been we have not achieved because of certain levels, but I think this is the time, Amrit Kal, when we'll achieve this.
All right, can we have another audience question, please?
Good afternoon, sir. I would like to ask what individual changes are needed to ride in this economic wave?
मुझे लगता है ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण प्रश्न है। दादाश्री हमारे पास बैठे हैं हमारे सामने, उनका मार्गदर्शन हमें मिलेगा। मुझे तो एक ही बात लगती है कि जो ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन कैन बी फ्रॉम विद इन एंड विदाउट, दोनों ज़रूरी हैं। और बिना कंटेंट के लीडरशिप अगर आती है तो वो फेलियर भी होता है। कन्फ्यूशियस का एक बहुत फेमस वाक्य है, जो कि नेगेटिव थोड़ा सा वाक्य है, फिर भी वो बहुत एवरीबडी विल राइज टू द लेवल ऑफ हिज इनकॉम्पिटेंस, उन्होंने कहा। यानी कि आपके अंदर जो कंटेंट है, कैपेसिटी है, उसी के बेस पे आपकी पोजीशन डिटरमिन होगी सोसाइटी में। तो मुझे लगता है कि इंडिविजुअल अगर आप कंटेंट डेवलप करेंगे, इंडिविजुअल जिसको साधना, हमारे यहाँ पे ऋषियों ने क्या कहा है कि साधना बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। आप क्या कहते हैं, कोई एक ही बात मैं कहूँगा या और कोई महापुरुष कहेंगे या दूसरे कहेंगे, शब्दों के चयन से फर्क नहीं पड़ता, किसने उस शब्दों को अपने जीवन में जिया है उससे उसके प्रभाव का फर्क पड़ता है। तो इंडिविजुअल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। उसके लिए मुझे 4 बातें बहुत महत्वपूर्ण लगती हैं। वह है कि एक तो स्वाभिमान होना चाहिए। कहीं ना कहीं हम लोग इस स्वाभिमान से वंचित, कहीं बीच के जो हमारे यहाँ पे जब हम ऐसे सिचुएशन में आ गए थे कि हम गुलामी के 1000 साल में रहे, हमने अपना स्वाभिमान खो दिया। स्वाभिमान की जरूरत है। स्वाभिमान आता है इतिहास के ऊपर गौरव से। तो हमें अपने देश के ऊपर गौरव होना चाहिए। गौरव होगा तो स्वाभिमान आएगा। और फिर तीसरी महत्वपूर्ण बात है, मेहनत की बहुत ज़रूरत है। मैं कई बार बच्चों के पास जाता हूँ, कॉलेज स्टूडेंट के पास जाता हूँ, सब चाहते हैं कि भारत महान हो, वो बोलते हैं। तो मैंने कहा कि फिर कैसे महान होगा? कोई अमेरिका के पास हम बोलेंगे कि हमें महान कर दो, तो वो तो नहीं करेगा। किसी से मांगने से तो हम महान नहीं हो जाएंगे। हमें मेहनत करनी पड़ेगी और हमें करना पड़ेगा। हम घर में बैठे हुए माला जपने लग जाएं कि हम महान बन जाएं, तो उससे भी नहीं बनी। हमारी मेहनत है। स्वाभिमान, गौरव, मेहनत, और फिर क्लियर लक्ष्य होना चाहिए। गोल इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। कहाँ पे आप, हमारे सारी संस्कृति में लक्ष्य के बारे में बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। लक्ष्य निर्धारण जीवन में जितनी जल्दी होता है, वह लक्ष्य अपना निर्धारित जितनी जल्दी हो जाएगा, तो उतना हमें कहाँ प्राप्त करना है, कहाँ पे जाना है, वो लक्ष्य हो जाएगा। और उसके बाद लक्ष्य जब क्लैरिटी हो गई तो विल पावर की जरूरत है, कलेक्टिव विल से। तो कई बार जो नेगेटिव नरेशन क्रिएट करते हैं ना, मुझे लगता है, और चैलेंजेस किस देश में नहीं है, कहाँ नहीं है? सब देश, विश्व पूरा चैलेंजेस से भरा हुआ है। आज भी था, पहले भी था, आगे भी रहेंगे। लेकिन चैलेंजेस का मतलब हम गड़बड़ हैं, खराब है, ये नहीं ना। तो विल, कलेक्टिव पावर है कि वी हैव टू अचीव। तो स्वाभिमान, गौरव, लक्ष्य निर्धारण और विल के साथ कलेक्टिव विल। वो जो हमारे यहाँ पे जो संकल्प लेते हैं ना शुरू में, तो वो संकल्प का मतलब है, उसमें कितने हैं कि 5000 साल के इतिहास से आप जोड़ के अपने इस स्थान पे आ जाते हैं। और भारतवर्ष, भरतखंड, इस तरह से जो पूरा संकल्प, अपने आप में संकल्प लिए बगैर हम कोई काम नहीं करते हैं। तो संकल्प की भी महत्वपूर्ण है, और कलेक्टिव संकल्प अपने आप में बहुत शक्ति देता है। और मैं तो एक सेंटेंस भी कहता हूँ कई बार, क्योंकि जो वो एक गीत है, जिसने भी संकल्प लिया है उसी ने इतिहास रखा जाए। तो संकल्प की बहुत जरूरी है।
बिल्कुल। आई थिंक वी हैव अ कपल ऑफ मोर मिनट्स, वी कैन इंक्लूड वन मोर क्वेश्चन। कैन वी हैव क्विकली वन मोर क्वेश्चन प्लीज?
My name is Shagun Gupta. We are associated with real estate, sugar and financial services industry. Dadashri ji ko naman. We've been associated, Dadashri ji, with your mission and vision through my sister, Dr. Shilpi ji here. We've only learned one thing in life, which Dadashri always tells, is focus on happiness and positivity. So, Dadashri ji, aapko naman, and keep guiding lakhs and millions and billions. We all need it more and more. Shri, so, sir, मेरा जो क्वेश्चन था, श्री गोपाल कृष्ण अग्रवाल जी से, what is the role of financial markets and commodities market in achieving our 5 trillion economy, and how can these two industries particularly help achieve the 5 trillion economy target that we have?
देखिए, there are two important things in the economic growth in any country: capital and labor. They contribute more. Without capital or without labor, no country can grow in the economic field, particularly manufacturing. Both are required. We have abundance of labor. 1.4 billion economy is there. We have labor. We are short of capital, one thing. And therefore, we are depending upon FDI and other thing. We should focus on private capital formation. We cannot depend upon only through government spending in the manufacturing sector. I am a big believer of disinvestment, that the government has no business to do business. Historically, we have developed some of the PSUs. They have contributed, but at this point of time, many of the areas which we do not require, we should go for disinvestment. That is unleashed. And we should respect private entrepreneurship. That's very important. And BJP as such is a right to center party. We believe business community, industrialists as part of the wealth creator and wealth national builders. So capital is a second important thing. We are short of capital. Financial instruments can leverage your capital, whether it is stock market, derivatives, commodity market. They are the instruments of leveraging capital, and even foreign investment, etc., come through capital market and financial market. And fintech is one area where India is at present a global leadership. We have almost 100 unicorns startup in which almost 10, 12 are fintech companies. And they have done a big contribution. So this area of valuation, this system of valuation creates a good value for corporate sector, and it brings for foreign investment, capital creation is there, I think.
Right.
But it has to be regulated. So there are manipulative, whether there are an element of speculation in this.
Right.
That has to be properly regulated. I think
True.
we should regulate this, but this is one area which can help in the capital formation and which is important.
True, Gopalji, I think we can go on and on talking about how we can transform Bharat, but time is not allowing us anymore. But anyways, I would request you to please be on stage for a few more minutes with us while I invite on stage Shri Ajit Saxena ji, who is from the Maitri Bodh Parivar. He's an ex-IS officer who started the first ever railway helpline in the country in 2003, a civil engineering graduate from IIT Roorkee and an MBA degree holder, is known for his meticulous attitude and is also on the advisory board of Maitri Bodh Parivar. I'd like to request him to please come on stage to extend our token of gratitude to Gopal ji.
मैं बहुत धन्यवाद देना चाहता हूं मैत्री बोध परिवार को कि मुझे आज यहाँ बुलाया. दादाश्री जी से मेरे 3-4 बार इंटरेक्शन हुए हैं. I am very happy to be associated with Maitri Bodh Parivar. Thank you all.
Thank you, Gopal ji. Huge round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Gopal ji. Thank you, Ajit ji.